Pocket FM.
To unlock all the episodes, click the link in bio.
How could he say we've slept together before so matter-of-factly, as if it were the most reasonable thing in the world? And then he has the nerve to tell me to relax? When Amelia's cheeks turned tomato red, Javier felt pleased with himself and reached a finger out to poke one of them, but she smacked his hand away. Javier took his hand back. Always so violent. Just then, a pouty Max shoved his way between them. When did you guys have a sleepover without me? Amelia furrowed her brow, confused. What, baby? I heard Dad say this isn't your guys' first sleepover. Why didn't you invite me before? Javier held in a laugh, and Amelia shot him a death glare, then patted Max's head sweetly. Max, baby, just go brush your teeth. Max scurried out. Who's gonna tell him why he wasn't invited to the first sleepover? Javier teased. Amelia marched right up to him. Would it kill you to be less shameless when you're within earshot of our son? He hears everything, and our night together was spent on a California king. Do you really think the three of us can make a twin-size race car work? Amelia crossed her arms and clocked the obnoxious smirk on Javier's face. What? Javier gave a playful shrug. You say you don't remember anything about our first time, and yet that's the second detail from it that you've referenced tonight. When was he going to stop bringing up their indiscretion? Stop calling it our first time. That implies that there have been other times. It was the last and only. Javier looked at her without detectable emotion, then turned on his heels and sauntered out. What? Where are you going? To shower. You two get a head start. I'll be back. Not a minute later, Max came padding into the room, took his mom by the hand, and together they flopped onto the bed. She prayed that Javier had no actual intention of returning after his shower, and had only agreed to the sleepover to pacify his son. Mom, when you and Dad fall asleep, can you have another baby tonight? Max asked, as if he was asking Santa Claus for a shiny new toy. Amelia's lips twitched at the absurd question. What was this kid going on about, and who was teaching him these things? Sweetie, why are you asking that? What do you know about having babies? Though she asked, she was afraid to hear the answer. The art teacher, Mrs. Francie, said that to have a baby, a mom and a dad have to fall asleep on the same pillow and go to dreamland together so they can ask the angels to give them a baby. The art teacher taught him this. Good thing Max was transferring to a new school this term. I see. Max, is that why you begged me and your dad to have a sleepover? So we can dream up a new baby together? Max explained his earnest logic. I just think that if you and Dad have more babies, you'll both be too busy at home to date other boyfriends and girlfriends, so you can just marry each other instead. This poor kid wanted them to be a family so badly that he was concocting all sorts of schemes in his head. Amelia held his little face. Oh, unfortunately, sweetie, having a baby is not that easy. It's a bit more complicated than that, and it's a huge decision made by two people who love each other very much. Max's cute face scrunched in sadness. So, you and Dad won't give me a baby sibling tonight? Before Amelia could respond, a deep voice interrupted. Do you two often discuss things like this? Javier leaned against the doorframe in a black robe, his arms crossed as he looked at them with mild amusement. Amelia wished she could disappear. It was as if Max was created to embarrass her to death while Javier was made to shame her into an early grave. Dad, Max called out cheerfully and waved him over. Come on, sleep here. You sleep on the right, and Mom goes in the middle, and I'll sleep on the left. As he spoke, Max wiggled across Amelia to settle himself on the far left, leaving her in the middle. Hey, Amelia tried to stop him. Why do I have to be assigned the middle spot? You're the smallest. You should go there. Max reasoned with her. Mom, you're a lady. Dad and I are men, so we'll protect you, Max declared, then turned to Javier. Dad, you don't mind, right? Please say you mind, Amelia screamed internally. I don't mind, came out a deep, husky reply. On his way to the bed, Javier hit the light switch, sending the entire room into darkness, with the exception of one small nightlight and the glow of the moon outside. This children's bed was barely 5 feet wide, 6 feet if you count the race car tires on the sides. When Amelia and Max laid down on it, it was a squeeze, but doable. But when Javier added himself into the equation, the mattress dipped under his weight, and Amelia's entire body stiffened like a statue in an attempt not to roll into him. Javier had to lie on his side to fit on the narrow bed, which meant Amelia's ear was practically pressed against his chest, and she could clearly hear his steady, powerful heartbeat. How could he be so calm and steady in this situation, when her own heart was pounding so chaotically she feared he'd hear it? Mom, you didn't tell me what else has to happen to have a baby, Max asked, his curiosity undiminished. Amelia had the urge to throw the little rascal out of the room. I don't know. Stop asking me. How can you not know? You and Dad had me. Amelia snuck a glance at the man lying beside her and mumbled, Then go ask your dad. From her angle, she could see his sharp jawline and strong collarbones. It was an incredibly sexy close-up. God was unfair. Not only had he given this man immense power, but also a strikingly handsome face. Perhaps sensing her gaze, Javier shifted slightly, and his eyes lowered to meet hers. Do you really want me to explain it to him? Yet again, Amelia's face burned in his presence. She tried to sound indifferent. Go ahead, if you want. I wouldn't know what to say. Javier tilted down his head, and the breath of his whisper brushed against her ear. Do I need to give you a lesson as well? The atmosphere grew impossibly intimate. Max, we can have this conversation when you're a bit older, okay? All right, Max said as he yawned. Amelia let out a quiet sigh of relief, thankful to have sidestepped what could have been a very awkward conversation. But one thing she couldn't avoid was the faint, refreshing scent of his minty body wash, which drifted into her senses, along with something else. It was the same amber fragrance she pointed out to him before. Not wanting to wake up Max, she whispered, Javier, are you wearing cologne? Javier cracked his eyes open. What? You showered, but I can smell the scent from earlier. Did you put on cologne to come to bed? He knitted his brow. Stop being weird. Go to sleep. She glowered at him for not answering her, then closed her eyes. He was the weirdo, covering himself in expensive chemicals just to go to sleep. Amelia thought she'd never be able to fall asleep with Javier beside her, but sleep overtook her surprisingly quickly. All the embarrassment of the day must have left her exhausted. While she drifted off to sleep, the warm amber scent began to invade her dreams, transporting her back to the intoxicating night she and Javier once shared. She must have been reliving that night in her sleep because, bit by bit, her body sought out the warmth of his. Her head made a pillow of his strong shoulder, and she curled into him. The hard, steady beating of his heart pulled her into a trance, and she started to trail soft kisses up Javier's chest in her sleep. A light sleeper, Javier immediately woke at her touch, and when he glanced down, his gaze darkened, taking in her delicate features, soft and angelic, so close. When she snuggled closer to him, his breath hitched, his chest tightening. In his own sleepy haze, he tried to make sense of the situation. Was she asleep? Was he? Suddenly, she tilted her head up and planted a soft kiss on his lips. The warm, tender sensation sent a jolt through him, like an electric current surging through him in an instant. And she must have felt it, because at that moment, she woke up. Both their breathing quickened. He pinched her chin, raised her head to meet his gaze, and her sleepiness vanished. Now, she was wide awake. She tried to look anywhere but at him, but her eyes landed on his lips. From her earlier muddled kiss, she could still feel their softness. What was wrong with her? How could she be thinking like this? Her thoughts were interrupted by a voice low and dangerous. "Why did you do that?" I didn't mean to," she stammered, her voice breathless. He pressed his forehead to hers, and she couldn't help but slowly trace her delicate nose along his. A deep whisper met her ears. Then do it like you mean to." He tightened his grip on her chin, and when he wrapped his arm around her waist, she squeezed her eyes shut and crashed her lips onto his. His arms tightened around her, and when he suddenly deepened the kiss, she forgot how to breathe. The intensity felt so good that it made her panic, not wanting to lose herself in it. Her eyes flew open, and Javier released her. He was mesmerized by the beautiful mess before him. His breathing still heavy, Javier narrowed his eyes. So troublesome. For a long while, Amelia's mind remained a foggy mess. She doesn't know when, but at some point Javier thought it better to get up and go back to his room. But she could still feel his heart lingering around her, on his pillow, on her skin. She must be losing her mind. How could she have kissed him? Not just once, but twice. His ego must be loving this. He must think she's some infatuated fangirl now. But he kissed her too. Hell, he was the one who demanded it. Frustrated, she buried her flushed face into her pillow and groaned. But even her pillow carried his faint scent. That's what started all this to begin with. She clutched at her chest, feeling her heart race uncontrollably once more. She'd never felt like this before. What was this effect he had on her? The man was vexing. Amelia never went back to sleep that night. Her mind buzzed and raced through the early hours of the morning. When Max finally woke up, she was grateful to have a distraction as she helped him get dressed. The little boy yawned, still groggy, and asked, Bob, where's Dad?" Hearing Javier's name brought back memories of last night. Even now, she felt embarrassed. I think he got up a while ago. Not everyone can sleep in like you, lazy bones." After sending Max downstairs for breakfast, Amelia returned to her room to wash up. She wasn't sure how to handle last night's incident with Javier. She obviously couldn't pretend it didn't happen. After all, they will be sharing a residence for some time, and co-parenting. Leaving things unsaid would only make future interactions complicated. Amelia decided that instead of awkwardly avoiding him around the house, she would be confident and proactive by finding Javier immediately to clear things up. To find out what happens next, download the Pocket FM app in the next minute to get
Pocket FM. To unlock all the episodes, click the link in bio.